Brace yourself. There's an unscripted review ahead. Ah! Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. My name is Bronetable, aka Jacob. And I'm going to be doing a quickie video on, let's see, I think it's 5 games there? 5 games. I got a stack of 5 games over there in case you couldn't tell. Cam's not even pointing at how would you know. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm going to be doing a quickie review of my favorite, well, I don't know about my top favorite, but Gamecube games I've rather enjoyed. Now, quick backstory. Let's see here. When I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of video games. In fact, we seldom even got to play anything we had. We didn't get a PS2 until later, and the console we were graciously given originally was a Gamecube. Now, I know the Gamecube wasn't the best console out there, like especially compared to Xbox and PS2, but what we grew up with, we really, really enjoyed the Gamecube, especially the controller, very comfortable. And, you know, with the Gamecube, I think this has already been established for video game players out there, that, it's, what's the word? The Nintendo's the only one that made good games for it, which I definitely agree with. I mean, there were some non-Nintendo games that got on, well, games that Nintendo didn't per se publish, or other people, they're port of the GameCube is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so they weren't, there were some lackluster games too, but we had the, you know, the good ones, of course, because, you know, I would have tap games. Anyway, so, but that's what we had. We enjoyed the GameCube, and that's what we had, and that's what we enjoyed. And, I mean, I still enjoy the games to this day. I mean, I don't play them much anymore. I'm actually usually reading, to be honest, but, I still enjoy them. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to give you a quickie countdown, or top 5, I said 5? Yeah, I said 5, of my top 5, favorite Gamecube games. Now, I'm going to explain the games. I don't have any gameplay, footage of them. If you'd like to see, you know, have me do another one of these videos and go into more detail about the, what's the word, of the games themselves, I can, but I just want to give you a quick one. Anyway, so, in my, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 5, my number 5 spot is a game called Battalion Wars. Now, Battalion Wars is a RTS game, where it's meant to be a kind of a cartoonic style, what's the word, it's a military shooter, but it's also an RTS, as I said. And the idea of the game is that you live in a fictional universe, and you go to war, and it's just basically accomplishing missions that, let's see, it's all about maneuvering your troops correctly and having the right tactical edge and sending the right units to dispatch the right units, like you send anti-aircraft troops, or in this case missile veterans, to take out gunships or bombers and fighters, which are, you know, there's aircraft and then there's ground force and ground vehicles. Nintendo did make a sequel to this game, which I played both of them, but I've really especially enjoyed this one because with Battalion Wars, it's a very polished game. Because, I mean, visually, the graphics are much better, number 1. Number 2, the sounds, I think, are much higher quality, because the second one came out on the Wii when the Wii just first came out, so it wasn't that great. I just enjoyed this one. It just seems like a much better put-together game, and, you know, surprisingly, there's actually a reasonably good story in it. I mean, you could look at it, it's like, oh, the story sucks. Well, it probably does, but it probably does suck, but I don't know why. It's just something simple, like you're just going to war and you just fight people. So anyway, Battalion Wars, great game, great RTS. The next one is one I didn't know if I want to give this a number 5 or number 4 spot because it's one of my favorites of all time. But on the other hand, I really, really hate it with a passion. It's F-Zero GX. Now, I haven't played a lot of F-Zero games before this, and after this, I think I played only 2 Game Boy games. But this is the F-Zero GX game, or the F-Zero game that I was introduced to, and it's a really, really good game. It's, the idea is that you're racing at the speed of sound, and, well, above the speed of sound, actually, and the race tracks are, they're set on various different parts of Earth, and sometimes they're set on different planets. It's just, I don't know what else can be said of it, other than the fact that it's just, the skill of the game is that it's really unlike maybe any other racing experience out there. I mean, at least on the GameCube. The best one on the GameCube by far, the racing game, because, or at least in my opinion, I mean, I'll respect you if you disagree, of course, but with the, F-Zero GX, so it's, it takes a memory, like, to play it effectively, like, what's, well, I guess I have to mention the quick mechanic of it, that you know, you go around you try to survive the track, because tracks in the game are, you know, they get harder and harder and harder. Sometimes they're just deliberately designed to screw you over. I mean, yeah, they just designed it. Like one time, I mean, like there's this one track near the end of the game where it's called Lateral Shift Sand Ocean, where you drive. There's a straight line, and then all of a sudden the course veers like this, and so you have to go like, ah, ah! And it's really intense, especially when you're trying to get first place and you're driving incredibly fast. One of the key mechanics of the game is the boost technique. Well, not a technique, but whatever you want to call it, where you have an energy bar, which is also your health. And every time, after the first lap, you get a boost, I don't know what's the word, but you get access to your boosters, which means every time you use it, you use up some energy, and you boost straight ahead, which is fine if you use it sparingly. This is where the strategy of the game comes in, where you have to use it effectively. Like, if you use it too little, you're going to be in last place. You use too much, you may be in first place, but you got little health left. And if you get that little health left, if you get hit with something like, if one of the machines like spins around and attacks you, or you get slammed into a wall, you're pretty much screwed. So you have to, it comes in, there's a lot of strategy into it. You have to pit, which recovers your health, which a pit area is like this strip of space, depending on the track, it can be really wide or really small. Oh, excuse me, I'm just adjusting the camera here. Anyway, so it's, what's the word here? But yeah, you have to use that effectively, you have to boost effectively. There are various other hazards and things you need to exploit on the track. What I hate about it is that it's ridiculously hard, especially in the story mode. I freaking hate the story mode. On the other hand, I love it because it's so gripping, and well, not the story per se itself, but just the game, because it's like, holy crap, this is fast racing. This is a really intense race. But the problem is that you can die so freaking easily. It's just so irritating. Let's see, I think my memory card was corrupted, which I was really bummed about because I spent, as a kid, because, you know, I had nothing better to do. I spent, you know, several weeks getting this data, and then I find out, oh, this data is corrupted. I just lost all this data I spent who knows how long as a kid getting, and that means I need to go back and get it back. So I load up another memory card and realize, oh, this memory card is the corrupted one, so I can't load any more data on it. So right now, I'm not playing F-Zero because I can't save it, which is, it's unfortunate. So, a quick side note, Battalion Wars, this is the sort of game you can probably replay a lot, but F-Zero is one of those Nintendo hard games where it's like, once you beat it, you want to go on to another thing because it's like, why would you want to keep replaying this because it's so ridiculous. Anyway, so that's enough time on F-Zero. I love it. I highly recommend this game, if you ever have a GameCube. I would recommend it on an emulator, but I've tried that, and I was like, oh my gosh, F-Zero on my laptop, yeah! But I think it's not optimized effectively enough, but it's a good game. Anyway, long story short, great game. Next one, Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door. Now, I'll be a quick shorter this, give a quick, what's the word? Short and sweet review on this. Now, this one, in my number 3 spot, oh, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, it's based off the original Nintendo 64 title, Paper Mario, I think it was called, which is, you know, based on an older title. It's a turn-based strategy game. I'm trying to think of a good way of describing it. It's very story-based, and by the way, the story is absolutely amazing, even if there's no voice actors in it. Really, a really excellent story, because it's like, you know, the premise is, let me tell you about it for a moment. Excuse me. Princess Peach, you know, is eventually kidnapped, as usual. Well, back to the story. Mario is asked by Peach to come meet her at Rogue Point, which is, you know, a scummy city in the Mushroom Kingdom, and then she gets kidnapped there, and Mario has to go look around, find her, and, excuse me, I'm adjusting this again. Anyway, so, he's adjusting has to look around, find her, and he finds out that she's part of this plot to open this thing called the Thousand-Year Door, which is this, giant, a door. It's sealed this terrible demon behind it, and it's sealed up for 1,000 years, which is why they call it the Thousand-Year Door, because she was reigning, and she created these 7 things called the Crystal Stars. I mean, you know, before Mario. She had these things called, which were her ultimate weapon, but they were, you know, stolen, used against her. And, anyway, so they're used against her, and they were used to seal up the doors, so, that's the premise of the story, where Mario has to get back these crystal stars, and, prevent them from opening this, well, I think preventing them. I'm trying to remember it. It's been a while since I played it, but he has to get back to these crystal stars, so he goes to the various areas and meets new friends, and he battles enemies, and he pisses a bunch of people off, and he blows stuff up. And what's interesting about the game is that I mean, like I said, the story is really well put together, even if it's all text, because I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it, but it's just a really engaging story, even if it's something that's particularly simple. So anyway, that's great. And the combat system is incredibly simple as well. Sorry about that. I'm getting picky about my watch. I don't know why I want to keep adjusting it. But anyway, so the combat system is great, and I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. But yeah, it's just a well-polished game. That bestseller thing you see on, like, right there, put it on the nose. That is... Oh, I'm sorry, blanked out there. It's earned that. It's definitely earned that. It's a really... like I said, well put together game. I think that's pretty much all I can say about this. Moving on to number 4, my number 4 spot is number 2 spot. I went backwards. It's Metroid Prime. Now, spoiler alert. Metroid Prime 2 is in my number 1. I will explain that because I think there'll be a lot of people out there that disagree with me. Metroid Prime was the first. By the way, I got this at GameStop for like $4, and I had no idea anything about the game. It's like, oh, it's the first Metroid Prime. I wonder if it's as good as the second one, because I got introduced to the Metroid series by the second one, and then playing Metroid Prime Hunters on my DS, which, by the way, is also a good game, and I'll, might have another review on that. But anyway, so, Metroid Prime, you're Samus Aran. You are on a planet that you follow these race of creatures called the space pirates to this planet, and these space pirates are these ruthless creatures that she has personal experience with, and her goal is just to stop their operation, blow everything up, because, they're dirtbags, and they want to take over the galaxy. They're very intelligent as well, so they got various mechanical creatures and biological organisms. Everything wants there, it's trying to kill her, so no surprise there if you play the rest of Metroid, because she's always constantly wanting, everything's trying to kill her all the time. So anyway, it's the first 3D Metroid. A lot of people have said for its time, stunning graphics. To this, it's aged very well. It still looks really, really good. It's a very atmospheric game because it's all first person. The environments, they're ice environment, fire environment, jungle environment, stuff like that. I mean, nothing really spectacular in terms of the idea, but its execution is quite unique, where it's not just ice. They've got every single room brings something different to the table. Like, you might be in an ice cavern, or you might be in a temple. It's something you kind of have to experience to appreciate the quality they put into the environments. Anyway, so Metroid Prime, like I said, atmospheric. It's, what's the word? What's fun about it is that it promotes a lot of... Oh, there you go. It promotes a lot of exploration, like the game before Super Metroid did, which is a 2D side-scroller on the Super NES, I believe it was. Came out in 1994, 10 years before this, which, that 10-year gap between making Metroid games is another thing. I can go on in another video. But anyway, so... what's the word? A lot of fans really enjoyed it, myself included, because Metroid Prime, what it achieved in doing was... taking a 2D, previously 2D game, making it 3D, and making it really good 3D. So, you have a lot of power-ups in the game. What else? What's significant about the power-ups? Well, talking about the weapons, and I'll finish up this and then go on to the next one, is that with the power-ups, you use different guns for different situations. The enemies you fight are probably the most unique thing about the game, because it can be intense because it's all first person, and there are many times where you come close to death and you feel like you're there right there. Like, not just you're close to death, but there's like you feel, like it's not just saying, oh yeah, everyone wants to kill you. It's more like everyone wants to kill you. Dang, sort of thing. I mean, it's intense, especially when you go into the Space Pirates main base, which is, a freaking awesome area in its design as it is. But when you go in there, you have to fight wave after wave of these space pirates that are just, they get more and more ruthless, and then you fight these mechs and these security drones. Oh my gosh, I love it. It's really fun. I think I played it twice, and I think you can only play it so many times before you get bored of it. But I say that, but on the other hand, you could just, take a break for several years and come back to it. I'm rather hoping that if they still have video games around when I have children, which, they probably will, I really want to encourage them to play Metroid Prime. It's a really well put together game. Retro Studios, the company that Nintendo gave to make it, did a great job. And they did such a great job on that they also achieved that in their sequel, Metroid Prime 2. Now, the differences between Metroid Prime 2 is, of course, the setting and the some of the combat. I mean, they've made combat a bit more well-rounded, made Samus a little bit more agile, I believe. The graphics are even better. And the setting is that where where originally Samus went to this planet to blow up a space pirate, she tracked. They've been tracking for some time. And this, these Federation soldiers, because the ruling government in Samus's universe is the Galactic Federation. Not very creative, I know. But the Galactic Federation. And these soldiers are sent to this... No, correct, I had to back up. The space pirate vessel's in orbit of this planet, and this Federation vessel chased it. The pirate vessel goes in this planet that you later find out is an outpost for the space pirates, and the Federation vessel tracks it. Well, the atmospheric disruptions, cripple both ships. Federation troops get stranded, and because of these atmospheric storms, they can't call for help. They eventually get... Spoiler alert. They eventually get wiped out because of these, demonically possessed... Well, not demonic. Well, let's say demonically possessed. You later find out that these demonically possessed creatures... Well, we'll get into that in a minute. So, Samus comes down because the Federation wants her to investigate, and she... Well, by the way, the opening area of the Metroid Prime 2 is probably the most iconic area I've ever explored in a video game, because it's incredibly dark. Well, dark in the sense that they don't tell you flat out what happened. They just kind of they give you pieces and you gather together. Like over here, you say, oh, here is a pile of giant creatures bigger than your entire body that are dead. The Federation troops must have, fought those off. There's security features still in place. There's data networks still up. Stuff like that. And I just love that area so much. I mean, I played the game over just for that, because the exposition is just perfectly set in that opening area, and then you run into Samus's doppelganger, Dark Samus, which, go on another story, or another video I could do. Anyway, so Samus explores around, she runs into Dark Samus, Samus loses all her powers, that, she accumulates, because the creators have to give them a reason for, exploration, which, it's fine. That's how Metroid works, it's okay. It's one of those little quirky things like, oh, why'd she lose all her power-ups? Well, it's a gameplay thing, so I'm okay with that, even if it is kind of dumb in a sense. It's okay. I mean, no game's perfect. And anyway, so besides that, so she's kind of, she's lost her powers, and armor suit ability is what I mean to say. Then she finds out, oh, they all died. Like they weren't just wiped out here and got turned into. By the way, quick note: she's exploring the area. These troops reanimate because they're demonically possessed by these dark creatures. And then you later find this other site of Federation troops on this their starship. They get attacked by these demonically possessed creatures, as I mentioned before. There's an indigenous species they fought, and then the indigenous species, splinters, by the way, these splinters get demonically possessed, and they what's the word? So then they attack the Federation troops. So anyway, so Samus, finds this out, and her ship is damaged when she came in. As a quick side note, so she can't escape. So she's looking around. She runs into this old race of creatures, called the Luminoth, which are kind of moth-like. They're very tall sentients that float around. They're intelligent, but they, anyway. So she finds out this plight that they're in, that the few remaining of their race are getting hunted by these creatures called the Ing, which are these demonic creatures that originally, long ago. Quick backstory is that here's the planet that they came to. By the way, it's called Aether. The planet Samus is on. It was one planet. It got struck with a meteor. It split into two worlds. The Ing, the demons, are from one world, and the Luminoth are from this world. They have a war, and what they decided to do is change this war from being a stalemate, because they can't overcome each other, because Dark Aether, the Shadow Clone world, it's a very toxic atmosphere. You can't survive in that without, other technology. And the Ing can't come in the Light world because it burns their bodies, so they're at a stalemate here. And, or for long periods of time, they can't be in there. So anyway, they're at a stalemate, and what happens is that the Luminoth develop this energy transfer module, take the planet's energy and turn it into the other one, so you get rid of one planet altogether. Well, the problem is it's stolen from them, and their energy is taken from these different planetary regions. And if they lose the one at the main facility, the Light planet will collapse. and the dark one will reign, and that's a bad thing. The main character points out, like, if you let Samus, by the way, you might want to help us, because if the Aang destroy our planet, they might want to invade your galaxy. So yeah, help us out, please, girl. She does, of course. And you spend the whole game collecting these keys to get into these temples, which allow you to collect the energy. I keep talking about the story. As you might have guessed, as I said before, I'm a big Metroid fan. I like the story of Metroid, so I went into a lot of detail about that. But anyway, so the gameplay is significantly improved in terms of combat. The graphics are stunning in some places, especially Samus's regular suit here, which it kind of looks like a football's uniform. But then they made it even more rounded out and much more compact. I mean, you can't really tell on this because it's kind of reflective and it doesn't really do her justice, but it looks great on her. It looks like a really sweet suit. Anyway, so you go about the planet, you collect power-ups, and, same Metroid deal. You fight gigantic bosses, by the way. Like, I thought they're big in this. Like, Prime, they're even bigger than this, or at least much more intimidating. Like this giant dragonfly thing, which I could get into the music about that. Man, that game is so good. So, the different system is because I think I mentioned the different weapons you can get in Prime. Yeah, I did. In Prime, you get 4 different weapons. In this game, you get the same thing. However, they encourage you to use the standard one instead of just, like, okay, in Prime, you have multi-tiered weapons. Like, first you have the power beam, first you have the wave beam, then the ice beam, and the plasma beam. Now, they're generally, you could still use all of them, but they're generally more powerful, like, especially the plasma beam and the ice beam. Because you free someone with the ice beam, you fire a missile, take them out. Plasma beam, you charge up the shot, and then you blow them off in one hit. It's a very powerful weapon, which basically means that the other weapons are kind of obsolete by that point. So anyway, with Prime 2, you have an ammo system where you collect ammunition caches, not ammunition caches, but you collect power-ups that improve your ammo capacity, because you got the light beam, dark beam, and annihilator beam. By the way, annihilator being a sonic blast sort of thing. A mix of light and dark energy and sonics. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but it's really devastating in the game. The annihilator uses up both light and dark ammo. Dark beam uses up just dark ammo. Light beam uses up just light ammo. So you got to use it conservatively. I mean, later in the game, you got so much ammo that you can kind of mess around stuff with. It is really fun, just saying. But anyway, long story short, Prime 2 is my favorite. I'm not saying it's better than Prime 1, but this is how I got introduced to the Metroid series. It was just a great game. I really enjoyed it. And, I mean, I go back and replay it. Anyway, I like Prime 2, Prime 1. I gotta get a summary here, Paper Mario, whatever. You remember what they are. I don't need to go over them again. So anyway, that's my list of some of my top 5 favorite GameCube games. I'll try to make the video shorter next time. This particular one, I was just kind of doing not a rant, but just I was totally spontaneous with this. I just wanted to give my honest thoughts on it, just to put up another video. Yeah, like I said, sorry if I got too long. If you like videos like this where I just kind of rant, I mean, quick side note on that. For those of you familiar with a guy by the name of the Nostalgia Critic, he's an internet icon. His real name is Doug Walker, and he said that he's doing a review of a film. He said that he knew of someone that he admired who did reviews of film, and he said he didn't care if they ran on like an hour or 2 hours because of the content of them. And that's something I'd also personally like to be able to do if I did a review on more video games or films or books or anything. Just I won't be concerned with the length, just so long as the content is interesting and engaging enough for you as the viewer. I might even split this up a little bit too. But anyway, I don't know what I'll do with it. Anyway, long story short, those are my games. And if you want to see more videos like this, give me a like or shoot me a comment down there, please. I always appreciate comments, even if, well, I don't have many views right now. So that's okay. I don't have many comments or viewers, so those little comments, like, you just start out on YouTube, you got 1 or 2 comments, oh my gosh, I'm famous. Anyway, so, you guys have a good day. I'm terrible at wrapping things up, as you can tell, and I'll see you next vid. Ta-ta.